Hey guys, welcome to Man Medicine, where we talk about how men can optimize their health and escape the collapsing U.S. healthcare system. Well, I'm going to do a little reaction video today. I don't normally do these, but the fact is I watch way too much YouTube. And so I come across stuff occasionally that piques my interest or that I feel like I think it warrants clarification. So I'm actually going to take a very short video that Dr. Ken Berry recently posted, and where he made some statements about statin medications that I'm going to say some I agree with and some I don't, and I think that warrant perhaps a little bit further clarification just for the purposes of education. Okay, for those of you guys that don't know Dr. Ken Berry, so he's a family medicine doc. He is a hardcore, I think he would probably use that term, keto and carnivore diet advocate. I don't think it's a stretch to say that he thinks that that sort of a dietary pattern is the key to solving, 90% of people's health problems. And so he pushes that extremely, extremely hard. And, there's a whole group of people in this world that follow him and subscribe to that idea. And the problem that I have with that approach is not so much the diet itself, but there's this tendency in the world today, in the world of nutrition especially, that people have become like entrenched in these different camps, and the science of nutrition and what is the proper human diet, he uses that phrase a lot, which I actually like. It's taken on a religious tone, meaning that the people that are in one camp or the other, whether it's the plant-based, the carnivore, the keto, they have put themselves into echo chambers, and they have essentially become impervious to any sort of data or information or alternative viewpoints that might poke holes or weaknesses into their particular view about how nutrition works and what humans should eat, that sort of thing. And I don't operate that way. I have no dog in the fight. I am looking for the perfect human diet, and in my opinion, what I've realized over the years is that there are many paths to health. Now, can one of those paths be a ketogenic diet? Yeah, absolutely it can. In fact, for me personally, I do very well on ketogenic diets, but I do them once a year, maybe twice a year at the most. I use them exclusively in a I use them exclusively in a calorie deficit as a way to lose weight. So for me, it allows me to take weight off as painlessly as possible. And what I mean by that is the ability of ketogenic diets for many people to control hunger. For me, that's key, because if I get hungry, especially if it's 2 a.m. on a night shift like I was doing last night, if I'm ever going to break and snack and break my diet, it's going to be in a stressful situation like that after running a couple codes at 2 a.m. and I look over to the nurse's desk and I see a big bowl of like salted peanuts and almonds and stuff like that, because that's my weakness. Is I'm a crunchy, salty guy. I'm not tempted by sugar, but all those things obviously have a lot of calories. So ketogenic diets really suppress hunger for me, and I do very well on them. Without going too far down the rabbit hole on that, let's shift back to this video. So in this video, Dr. Berry, the other thing he's hardcore about is he hates statin medications. He thinks they're worthless. He thinks they're dangerous. I've read the same data that he has, and I disagree with him. And to be honest, most of the cardiology world, probably 99% of the cardiology world disagrees with this. Probably close to 100% of the lipidology world disagrees with them. People that take care of heart disease on an ongoing basis, day in and day out as part of their medical specialty, we've all looked at the data is the data. You can go to PubMed, and of course you can cherry pick and find things to support your view, but the bulk of the data, in my opinion, doesn't support his stance on statins. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be like some of these other doctors I see on YouTube and resort to ad hominem attacks. And I've had people, I've watched videos where doctors have been almost shouting like you're killing people with this diet, blah blah blah, and these sort of explosive and like inflammatory statements. And part of me thinks that they're just trying to generate controversy to get the YouTube algorithm to get them some more views. I think it's sort of silly. Like, you're a physician, just try to maintain some decorum. And it's okay if one of your colleagues looks at the same data that you look at and comes to a different conclusion. All right, just just chill out about it. But anyway, he says some things in this video that I do agree with, and some that I just am like, you've got an axe to grind against statins, and you're taking something that has a grain of truth to it and twisting it in a way that is not entirely accurate, or perhaps you're withholding the other side of the story. There's always more to the story, right? So I do think he tends to oversimplify stuff, but that appeals to his audience. That's why he's wildly popular. And quite frankly, a boring guy like me who talks about the shade. I live in the shades of gray with a lot of this stuff. Is I'll never have the audience that he has, and you know what? Whatever, that's okay. The final thing I'll say is that you'll notice in this video that you'll notice in this video that he throws out like one of these half truths, but then he provides a solution that's actually really good advice. So he'll dangle something out there that I think most people wouldn't notice if you're not a physician, and then he'll follow it up with something that I think even most physicians would agree with, including myself. So it's hard for me to get too upset, because he may start at the wrong place, but the conclusion or the solution ends up, we end up in the same place. We just got there different ways. So you'll see what I mean as we continue. So okay, so let's start this video here, and I'll shut my mouth, and then I'll break it up into little segments, and I'll chime in when I feel like I'm ready to. Okay, here we go.
This video is a public service announcement for anyone who's stuck taking a statin drug. Now, here's a list of all the statin drugs that are FDA approved in the United States. They go by other names in other countries. Many people are stuck taking these for a variety of reasons. Perhaps you've already had a heart attack or a stent or a bypass, and therefore you're taking a statin for secondary prevention.
First of all, you're never stuck. I don't like this, this sort of helpless picture that he's painting for most people. You're stuck. You're just stuck taking a statin. God damn it! Here I am. I'm stuck taking this statin every day. Listen, any medication that you decide to take into your body is a medication that has risk benefits and alternatives. There's a risk to reward ratio in everything in life, including the medications that you take. So you know what? It pays to understand. Don't be one of these people that I see in the emergency department every day that has a laundry list of medications, and when I ask you what your medications are, you're like, I don't know. I take a blue one, I take a green one. Well, why do you take them? I don't know. The doctor just gives them to me. I can't tell you how many times that every single day. These people are just popping pills. They have no idea. They're just blindly following their doctor. So you're not stuck, right? You're an adult. You make a decision. Understand the risks of the medicines you take. Understand the benefits, and then decide for yourself whether you're going to take this whatever medication it is, whether it's a statin or something else. The other thing I do like about this video, I mentioned that he's like militantly anti-statin, but I appreciate the fact that he has talked about, he mentions it here, but he's talked about it in other videos about statins and secondary prevention. So what that means is people who've already had a cardiovascular event. We'll say they've already had a heart attack, they have a stent placed, maybe they've had a stroke. The data, even for Dr. Berry, is so strong that if you've had a myocardial infarction, a heart attack, that you more than likely you'll stand to have, there is benefit there in preventing the second heart attack, or at least delaying it with the use of a statin. So most of his beef, no pun intended, is with primary prevention, which is people that have risk factors for heart disease like high cholesterol, but they haven't yet had an event. So that's primary prevention. Secondary prevention is you've already had the primary event, we're trying to prevent you from having a second one. And the data is pretty much universally accepted that that statins are beneficial in that group. And people argue about how much benefit there is, and quite frankly, it's it's going to vary from person to person. If you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, if you're losing weight, you're exercising, you're addressing metabolic disease, your insulin sensitivity, you're putting on muscle tissue, you're keeping your chronic inflammation in check, mainly by losing visceral body fat. Clearly all of that together plus a statin is going to go a lot further than if you're just a fat slob couch potato. You keep smoking, you keep doing meth on the weekends, and you're 350 pounds, which is like a third of my ER population. So, a statin is not going to save you if you're that guy, okay? But credit to him, I appreciate he at least mentioned secondary prevention, okay? So let's keep going.
Some people are taking a statin because their doctor kind of bullied them into taking it. Some people take a statin because their wife encouraged them strongly to do what the doctor said.
Okay. I hate to rant on these terms, okay? But listen, bullying is something that's like third graders do. You're an adult. You should not feel bullied. You shouldn't, that's not a word that should come up in adult interactions, in my opinion. And if your doctor is, quote, bullying you, you should probably find another doctor, all right? My approach with patients is I don't tell patients what to do. Almost never, There's obviously some rare exceptions, but I present patients with the best information that I can give them, okay? I do my best to help them understand it, and then I let them decide, okay? And if they make a decision that I don't agree with, okay, as long as it's your health, right? You're allowed to make decisions that me as your doctor do not agree with. Okay, it's not like I'm going to kick you out of the practice or something, or berate you, or quote bully you. That if that's the kind of relationship that you feel like you have with your doctor, first of all, you need to be a man and stand up and correct your doctor to their face, not just complain about it. And if that doesn't go well, do it professionally. If that doesn't go well, go find another doctor. As an adult, you need to be able to make your own healthcare decisions. But again, you can't make good decisions if you don't have good information. So that's my approach. I'm an information provider. I do give advice. I obviously have my own biases about what you should and shouldn't do, and I don't mind sharing those with you. But ultimately, it's up to you, and that's the kind of relationship I think is best long term. Between a patient and a physician. So. Okay, let's keep going here.
In some cases, it's your mama. In some cases, you just don't know better and you wind up taking a statin. In many cases, this is not doing you any good, but it can do potential harm in 7 different ways. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the 7 things you need to be thinking about and working on if you're stuck taking a statin. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician with over 20 years of clinical practice. Let's look at this list and I'll tell you what you need to do about each one of them. Number 1 is vitamin D. Taking statins decreases your body's ability to synthesize vitamin D. And so you need to really think about either eating vitamin D rich foods, which I have a video about on this channel, or taking a vitamin D3 supplement that does not come in a vegetable seed oil.
Okay, let's talk about that. This is a good example of what I mentioned earlier about starting off with a questionable premise and then ending up in a place that actually ends up actually being good advice, with the exception of the seed oil thing. Listen, I don't know if you've ever seen I hope you've seen a vitamin D tablet or capsule, a little tiny microscopic thing. If you're going to tell me that the seed oil in that thing is going to poison me and harm my health, you need to prove that to me. Okay, show me the data that microscopic amount of oil is going to harm me. Okay. With that aside, this is not as cut and dry as he says. Okay, so what he's talking about is that there is, as I'm sure most of you guys know, ultimately vitamin D requires, the synthesis of vitamin D requires sunlight. There's a photochemical reaction that happens in the skin, okay? And there's this stuff called 7-dehydrocholesterol, okay? And that is exposed to light, and it goes into the active form of vitamin D. It happens in your skin. You know, optimal wavelength is somewhere around 300 nanometers of light, which is totally irrelevant. So there's some data in the biochemistry literature that, like, statins, which are HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors, they might inhibit the synthesis of 7-dehydrocholesterol, and then theoretically lower the amount of vitamin D that you make because you have less of the substrate, okay, when you go out into the sun. Okay, well, it turns out the data on that is all over the place. I'm going to show you here. There's actually, this is just one of 4 studies that I found that show that statins actually raise vitamin D levels, okay? Now, they're old studies, but the data is the data. So that's the thing. I mean, he makes these like very matter-of-fact statements as if this is just, there's no question about this. And again, the world of science and medicine, a lot of it is in this, there are shades of gray to all of this, okay? So this is effects of atorvastatin, which is a very common high-potency statin, on vitamin D levels in patients. Now, this is with acute ischemic heart disease. So these are people that are like actively sick having an event, okay? So maybe you could argue, you know, if we got somebody who wasn't having an acute ischemic event, maybe things would pan out differently, but my feeling is probably not, okay? So this particular study, American Journal of Cardiology, is an older one from 2006. And here's the chart. I mean, so they looked at, well, obviously what happened to lipids at baseline, and then they were started on, these patients that had an event were started on a statin, and they looked at 12 months later, and look at the bottom here, 25-hydroxycholecalciferol. So they, at their average, average numbers went up, right, from 41 to 47 nanomoles per liter. Now, they weren't taking exogenous, they weren't taking extra vitamin D. There was something about the statin that actually increased vitamin D. So his statement there that it's going to impair the synthesis of vitamin D is one of these theoretical biochemical things that when you actually look at it and you test it in patients, doesn't exactly pan out as you would predict. But again, he concludes with, eat a lot of vitamin D3 rich foods and consider supplementing with vitamin D, which, you know, who's going to argue with that? Yeah, that's great advice. So cool. All right, let's keep going.
Number 2 is vitamin K2. Again, taking a statin interferes with your body's ability to make vitamin K2, which is different from vitamin K1. So either eat from the list of vitamin K2 rich foods that I talk about in my video about that, or consider taking a vitamin K2 supplement.
So again, this is another great example of giving, you know, sort of questionable, or taking questionable biochemical findings, and then but still ending up in the right place. Okay, so yeah, there is this loose theoretical connection, biochemical connection between statins and vitamin K2, and it has to do with arterial calcifications. We do know that when you take a statin, your arterial calcium score tends to go up. Okay, now, you know, people assume that that's a bad thing, but we do know that event rates tend to go down. Okay, so the waters are a little murky here with this, but basically, you know, statins. There's a whole bunch of these like vitamin K dependent proteins that are involved in calcium metabolism and the deposition of calcium within the artery wall. And there's some thoughts that statins might interfere with these vitamin K dependent enzymes and proteins, and therefore lead to a net accumulation of calcium within the arterial wall that, you know, otherwise wouldn't have happened, or would have still happened, but perhaps at a slower rate. Okay, that doesn't mean that it depletes your body of vitamin K2, some of which is made in your gut microbiome. But again, his conclusion that you should eat foods rich in vitamin K2 is absolutely correct. There's you can look up the whole list of like healthy, delicious, primarily leafy green vegetables that you should be stuffing yourself with every single day. And in some cases, if you need to, like if you're on a carnivore diet or a low vegetable diet, because you just can't eat your veggies, then you can supplement with vitamin K2. A lot of sources will recommend like 100 to 200 micrograms a day of vitamin K2. So again, that's not a reason to not take a statin if you're a high-risk patient, and certainly if you're in the category of secondary prevention. Not a single one of these arguments that he's going to lay out hold any water and should dissuade you. If you've already had an event, nothing that he says in this video should dissuade you from taking your statin, in my opinion. Okay, all right. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next one here. See what he's got to say.
Number 3, very important. It's been shown without any doubt that taking a statin causes your levels of coenzyme Q10 to plummet. So for every single human on the planet who's taking a statin on a daily basis, you need to be taking a coenzyme Q10 supplement. I encourage every doctor and healthcare provider to go through your list of patients taking a statin and call them and say, hey, why don't you take 200 milligrams of coenzyme Q10 a day, because the statin that you're taking to try and prevent a heart attack is preventing your body from having the correct level of CoQ10 in your bloodstream.
Okay, here's where he takes something that's actually correct, but he kind of he blows it to the moon. Every single person on the planet, really? Like, I need to get on the phone and call up, the thousands of people that I've prescribed statins to and be like, hey man, I forgot to tell you to take some coenzyme Q10. If you don't go to GNC right now, you're going to drop dead. Come on, that's ridiculous. I am not downplaying the importance of CoQ10. The American College of Cardiology, most of their position papers on this sort of stuff do not recommend routine CoQ10 administration because of just what they consider essentially dubious benefits. I probably should do a video on CoQ10 because CoQ10 is clearly highly important. It's important especially for mitochondrial health and energy production. There are studies out there that show in certain populations, likely people who are nutritionally compromised and who have high metabolic demands, cancer, cachexia, heart failure patients might benefit in some ways from supplemental CoQ10. But to routinely put everybody on CoQ10, the entire world, he says, show me the paper that says we have to do that. And those papers, as far as I know, don't exist because I've looked around for them. Having said that, CoQ10 it's very inexpensive, and it is certainly not going to harm you. And one of the big issues with statins that people talk about and complain about, it might be the most common side effect that's mentioned, is the myalgias and the muscle aches, arthralgias and myalgias they call them. And the data on whether CoQ10 can help with that is a bit mixed. But there's a lot of papers and including large meta-analyses, this is one here, effects of coenzyme Q10 on statin-induced myopathy, an updated meta-analysis of randomized controlled studies. Okay, and this is from the Journal of the American Heart Association, 2018, I think. So, and in this paper, they show that there's a signal there for benefit. Okay, so do I start every single person right out of the gate on CoQ10? No. But I warn them about these muscle aches, and I say, hey, listen, if you feel like you might be experiencing these, start some CoQ10. Let's see what's going to happen. There's literally no downside to this. Even the cost is not, much of a downside. If you're really pinching pennies, maybe, but average person can afford, 100 to 200 milligrams of CoQ10 every month. He doesn't talk about this, but just a word on statin muscle symptoms. Okay. There's a big study here. It's called the Statin Wise study, published in 2021 in the BMJ, British Medical Journal. And what they did is they took 200 people in the UK. They were randomized, it says here, to a series of 6 double-blind treatments of either placebo or atorvastatin, 20 milligrams, which is a low to moderate dose. And it says among the 151 participants who provided muscle symptom scores, there was no significant difference in statin-associated muscle symptoms between statin therapy and placebo. Okay, discontinuation due to intolerable muscle symptoms was 9% in the atorvastatin group, 7% in the placebo group, not statistically significant. Okay, now I'm not, if you have had muscle pains, myalgias, weakness, or any sort of issues like that, I'm not downplaying your experience. I'm not saying they aren't real, but there is a strong, very likely to be a strong nocebo effect. Everybody and their brother has heard about statin and muscle pain. And so, you know, the second grandma gets a muscle pain or tweaks her hip, you know, going up the stairs, oh God, it's grandma, it's the statin. You better stop your statin. Okay, it's probably not the statin. I'm on a statin now, as I discussed in my previous video. You know what? My muscles hurt all the time, but that's because I do jiu-jitsu 3 days a week and I lift 3 days a week and I'm really hard on my body. And you know what? My muscles still hurt. It's not any worse. They still hurt just as bad as they did before. So just keep that in mind. You know, the data shows that there is a strong called a nocebo effect with statins. Again, I'm not downplaying your individual experiences. Please don't leave me hate comments about that. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Next is cataracts. So some research shows that statins can actually cause the formation of cataracts. Other research shows that statins may prevent against the formation of cataracts. Now, at first you're like, how is it both ways? Well, many of these studies were funded by the drug company that stands to profit billions from selling the statin. So I'll let you figure out what's going on there. But in the meantime, if you're stuck taking a statin, make sure and go see your eye doctor at least once a year and get a good eye exam to make sure you're not developing cataracts or that your cataracts are worsening.
Okay, yeah, yet more shoddy data or evidence that leads you to a good conclusion. Yeah, absolutely. Go get your eyes checked every year. It's like part of something you should do, especially as an older person, if you start noticing some vision changes. Listen, I don't know why he mentions this. This is nonsense. You can cherry pick studies that show that statins will prevent you from ever getting a cataract, and you should take them. And you can get studies that show that, you know, one dose of Crestor, you're going to wake up the next morning and, you know, you're going to be blind, you know, from your cataract. You know, he clearly has an axe to grind against statins, and like, I don't mention this. When I talk, I do talk a lot about statin side effects. I don't mention this to patients because it's not this is not something that people need to worry about. Okay, cataracts. If you're going to get a cataract, they develop over years and years and years. Okay, they're associated. The primary risk factor for cataract is age. Okay, this is a big study here, and he says, well, you know, the studies that do show you get cataracts, those must be okay. And then any study that shows that, or they're protective, well, those have to be biased studies because they're, you know, they're all funded by drug companies. That's a common argument that he has. And listen, a lot of studies are funded by drug companies. You do have to look at the source, you know, when you look at any study, but come on, they're not all funded by the drug companies. Okay, this is one from the Journal of the American Heart Association where they did a big meta-analysis and they looked at all the studies, the ones that were funded, the ones that weren't. You know what their conclusion was? I'll read it to you. Based on the present meta-analysis of these studies, we could only conclude that there's no clear evidence showing that statin use increases the risk of cataracts. Okay? The next line is, the most likely case is that there's no association between statin use and cataracts. Because of the considerable benefits of statins in cardiovascular patients, this issue should not deter their use. Yeah, absolutely. You should, again, especially if you're in that secondary category, you should not choose to abstain from statins because of this theoretical, ultra murky, low risk possibility of developing a cataract 20 years down the road. Okay, it's stupid in my opinion. So I don't know why he mentioned that. It kind of hurts his credibility a little bit, I think, when he brings up stuff like that. So, all right, let's keep going.
Next is hyperinsulinemia. It's been shown in research that when you take a daily statin, your levels of insulin in your bloodstream are going to be higher. And this can lead to a whole host of maladies none of which you want. And so you may have to adjust your diet in a way that I talk about in other videos on this channel to keep your insulin level from getting too high while taking a statin. Number 6 is hyperglycemia. Statins will absolutely make your blood sugar go up to some degree. Some people a little bit, other people a lot of bit. So you may have to, again, adjust your diet to eat a lower carbohydrate diet to keep your blood sugar within normal levels if you're stuck taking a statin.
Okay, all right. I hear this one a lot too. Let's look at this. Okay, and we will we'll get some help here from this 2021 study from atherosclerosis, thrombosis, and vascular biology. Statins are associated with increased insulin resistance and secretion. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this is true. So what he says is technically true. There's a signal there in the data that many people who are on a statin will have slight, to some degree, worsening of their insulin resistance, depending on how you choose to measure that or define that, and they will have an increase in insulin secretion. So what does the average person do when they hear that? Oh my God, I'm going to be a diabetic. I start this statin and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be a diabetic. Okay, so that's not how this works. Okay, that's not how this works. If you have the genes and you are doing all of the wrong things that in life that are going to lead you down the road to diabetes, is it possible that being on a statin for a long period of time could slightly nudge you further in that direction? Yeah, it is. And let me talk about what I mean by slightly. Okay, so this is a chart from that paper, and it looks at a bunch of different values here. Where we look at, they looked at atorvastatin, but this is a class effect, so you can apply this to other ones. And they got baseline levels, and then they did an end of study. I think it was a year. Yeah, I think it was a year. So let's go down here. We'll go down to okay, fasting. We'll just start with fasting glucose because that's like a common way to screen for people that have prediabetes. Okay. So at baseline, fasting glucose is 99, technically normal. I get a little bit concerned at that level, but it's still technically normal. At the end of the study, after taking a statin, fasting glucose, 100. Okay. All right. So blood sugar went up by 1 point. Fasting insulin, he says your insulin level is going to go up. Yep, he's right. Fasting insulin level, 10.1. After introduce a statin, 10.6. Okay, wow, that's some serious insulin resistance. All right, they looked. So they measured insulin resistance a number of different ways. One of them is a steady state plasma glucose, this SSPG. Okay, steady state plasma glucose at the beginning 130. At the end, after a statin, 139. You gained a whole 9 points in your glucose level. Okay, my point here, I don't mean to make light of this or be flippant about it, but listen, this is a great example, and there's going to be one more here coming up of a statistically significant effect that is not clinically significant. Okay, if you become a diabetic, it's not because of your statin. Okay, it's about the other things that I just mentioned. Okay, and he mentions if you're going to be on a statin, you need to clean up your diet so you don't become a diabetic. Listen, if there's a reason you got put on a statin in the first place, and job number one is you do have to clean up your diet. That's why you're on a statin many times, or you have genetics that for whatever reason prevent you, no matter how good your diet and lifestyle is, from achieving an adequate LDL level or ApoB level, whatever you and your doctor decide that is for you. Okay, so so again, this is a great example of something that is statistically significant but just not clinically significant, not clinically relevant. Okay, if you're a normal person and you're exercising and you're eating the way you're supposed to eat and you're doing everything you're supposed to do, a statin's not going to make you die. You're not going to wake up the next day and become diabetic. That's just not going to happen. So, he says these things, but he doesn't tell you the numbers. So the devil's in the details, right? Yeah, your glucose is going to go up. Yeah, it sure did. Yeah, it went up. Your insulin level is going to go up, and you're going to have all the problems associated with that. Well, it did go up, but is it going to be enough to cause actual clinical real-world problems? Not in my opinion. I don't think so. So again, the details matter. That's why I like to show you guys these studies, okay, and not just pull stuff out of where like he's doing. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. We're in the home stretch.
And then number 7, testosterone. If you're taking a daily statin, whether you're a man or a woman, it is going to lower your level of total testosterone in your bloodstream. And you need to monitor this. And if it gets low enough to be dangerous, then you need to consider a bioidentical testosterone replacement therapy. Testosterone benefits your body in hundreds, if not thousands of ways, and taking a statin can lower it to levels where you lose this benefit.
Okay, where you lose it. Okay, so yeah, so I've talked about this in other videos. So this is just like the last example, this is a great example of something that is statistically significant but not clinically relevant. Okay, here's the paper. Use of statins is associated with lower serum total and non-sex hormone binding globulin bound testosterone levels in males participating in the Rotterdam study. This is published in 2015, European Society of Endocrinology. So, okay, it's gonna lower your testosterone, boys. Better stay away from that statin. So this again, if you don't understand the numbers, this is how you get men to not take their statins. Well, hell no, I'm not taking a statin. You're gonna castrate me with that statin medication. Okay, well let's see if that's actually true. Now I had to do a little bit of math for you guys. The values in here are in nanomoles per liter. So if you're used to that, this will be no problem. Here in the States, and I know my brain works in nanograms per deciliter and nanograms per milliliter. So I'll give you the numbers that may be more familiar to you. So they looked at current users of statins, and they showed down here all the different statins that they use. They're all the common ones. People who have used statins in the past and now stopped, and then people who have never used statins. So let's look at total testosterone first. Okay, so current users, the average total testosterone is 426 nanograms per deciliter. So low-ish, not great. Average age here is 64 to 65-ish. We'll just say 64 and a half. So middling, not amazing. How does that compare to the people who've never used a statin? Well, their average was 490. Okay, so here's the thing you need to know. Testosterone levels vary day to day. Now, in younger men, there's actually there can be quite a large diurnal variation. I've seen, differences of up to 150 in a man's daily testosterone levels just from one day to the next. Okay, that's completely normal. So it just depends on that's why you need to do like multiple testosterone levels and then get an average. So this is well within what I would consider to be normal in terms of just daily fluctuations. And again, is that enough to make any sort of clinical difference? Is that enough to go from asymptomatic to symptomatic? Maybe there may be some men that are, their symptom threshold is like right under that 490, and when they go below that, all of a sudden they start feeling things. I'm not going to discount that. You guys have seen all my previous videos about androgen receptor sensitivity and all the different polymorphisms out there, so we're all a little bit different. But listen, the vast majority of men, like a 64-point difference in total testosterone you're not going to feel that. You're not going to feel that at all. So what about the free testosterone? It's even closer. So current users, I'll just do the US conversions here, 2.3 nanograms per ml versus 2.5. So like no difference. And the reason for that is the statin group had slightly lower SHBG, right? So which freed up more free testosterone, so that perhaps in the presence of a statin, the body got rid of some of that SHBG and freed up some more free testosterone to help compensate for that. So, and again, free testosterone is really what tracks with symptoms, and that is not that might be a statistically significant difference in this paper, but that is not a clinically relevant difference. Okay, so absolutely, positively, and again, especially if you're in the secondary prevention arm, and your doctor has recommended a statin to try to prevent you from having a heart attack, this is not, in my opinion, a good reason to not take a statin, because you're worried about this microscopic shift downward in your total and free testosterone that is very likely to have zero clinical relevance. I think that's a poor decision. But you know what? If you're my patient and you tell me that that matters to you, okay, we'll find other ways to maybe get your lipids better. But if that was me, that wouldn't stop me from taking testosterone. And quite frankly, if your numbers are this low anyway, you might be in the category of men that are symptomatic anyway. You're going to end up on TRT, and at that point, this whole argument becomes irrelevant because you're taking exogenous testosterone. So again, another example, like he gives you some skewed, very biased data, but then his advice is make sure you keep good tabs on your testosterone and consider testosterone replacement therapy, which, of course, that's the answer, right? That's the answer if you're not on a statin. Okay. So, final statement from Dr. Berry.
So these are the 7 things. If you know anybody taking a statin, please consider sharing this video with them, because it could improve the quality of their life drastically. This is Dr. Berry. I'll see you next time.
Okay, so that's the video. Unlike a lot of doctors out there, I don't tell people, I'm not going to say don't share this video. You should share this video. I think before you make a healthcare decision, you should listen to other points of view, not just mine. Again, people like to live in echo chambers, or they latch onto a guru like Dr. Berry and like other people in the world, and they just blindly follow whatever they say. And that could be a bad idea. There's an old saying that I heard one of my attendings say, when I was a resident. He said experts give bad advice with confidence. Okay, so just be aware of that. Just because you're an expert in something, and I'm not saying that I'm not pointing at him directly. I'm just saying this in general. There have been. In fact, most experts in human history have been wrong about things, right? Like the experts thought that the sun went around the earth for thousands of years, okay? And they were wrong about that. So it's no different in medicine. The difference is in medicine, we use the scientific method, and as time goes forward, we're chipping away. We're slowly getting at what is actually true and accurate, and we're slowly ditching the things that are not true and accurate and have less utility. That is a slow process. People are impatient and they get angry that the conflicting advice that doctors give, and I get it. It's frustrating, but listen, that's the way. It's the only way forward. It's the only way forward with this stuff. So listen, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you found it useful. With everything with your health, be very careful about what you listen to on YouTube. And I'm not saying that you need to censor yourself or censor anybody else, but the way that you get views in YouTube and social media is to be polarized and to be inflammatory and to take small things and blow them up into big things and make them bigger than they deserve to be. People like certainty. They want to be led by the nose. Just tell me what to do, Dr. Berry. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Okay. Well, just keep in mind that Dr. Berry doesn't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. I don't claim to. And that's why, you might notice in my context, sometimes I might be a little wishy-washy about something, because the truth is I don't know. And if I don't know, I'm going to tell you that I don't know. And but that's just the way it is in medicine. There's a lot that we don't. The human body is a mystery, and we're getting better at it. But just be very careful about gurus and blindly following other people's advice. Do your own homework. Read about things. Try to get an understanding of your body. I'm not saying that you have to go and get a biology degree or go to medical school. But you can find good information out there, And again, if somebody on YouTube, I don't care who they are, says this is the way it is, everybody else is, not only is everybody else wrong, everybody else is stupid and should be thrown in jail. And when they start saying stuff like that, which again, that gets views and gets clicks, if you start hearing that stuff, that's a big red flag. I think you should change the channel, go watch a cat video or something. All right, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Always enjoy hearing from you, so drop some comments in there and I'll catch you next time. All Man Medicine video and audio has been created and shared online for informational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute the practice of medicine or professional healthcare services of any kind, including the giving of medical advice. I am not your doctor. No doctor-patient relationship has been established. This content is not meant to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied upon solely for that purpose either. The only purpose of this content is to present peer-reviewed, research-backed health information for your consideration. As always, rely on the advice and guidance of your personal physician before undertaking any activity presented here, and if in doubt or not comfortable with said activity, practice discretion. Your health is your responsibility and not ours. Finally, I take conflicts of interest seriously. I accept no compensation whatsoever from any private corporations, including pharmaceutical or supplement companies. You can trust that if I recommend a medication, product, or service, it's because I genuinely believe in it and not because I'm being paid to endorse it.